How's it going, everybody? So, starting a new series today on the Vienna opening, sometimes called the Vienna Game. A really interesting opening that is rarely played, basically at all levels. Um, and yeah, I think it's really interesting because I think it's a good way to catch people off guard, get them out of a lot of theory that they've been studying, and just really try to turn the table in your favor. So as I go through this series, I just want to underscore that I'm kind of approaching it in a way that's different from most of the opening introductions or kind of courses that you might see out there, where usually people will be offering this is the main theoretical line, this is how two grandmasters would play each other, etc., etc. Um, and the problem with those lines is often when we're presented with them, they're 15, 20 moves deep. Um, we have a hard time remembering them, first of all, because they're long. And secondly, they never come up in our games, right? You might get 4 or 5 moves in, and your opponent then always deviates. So, what I'm trying to do in this series instead is I'm trying to give the moves that I would recommend for the side that I'm presenting the opening for. So, in this case, I'm the Vienna game. Where I'm presenting it from white side. So I'm giving my recommendations of what I would do with the white pieces. And on the black side, I'm giving you what club players often, most often play. So I'm not giving you necessarily the best moves. The club players do play the best moves every now and then, but they also play mistakes. So what I'm offering you here is practical opening theory. I would call it. Um, what I'm using in terms of how club players usually play is I've leaned primarily through the research on relying primarily on Lichess's database, and I've sort of looked at games of players on Lichess who are rated between 1800 and 2200, so pretty strong club level strength players. And again, we sort of see how people play in response to the recommendations I give you as opposed to how they ought to play. So yeah, let's get right into it. So the Vienna game, if you're not aware, is characterized by e4, e5, and white plays knight c3. Of course, as we're all aware, the most common move for white on move 2 here is to play knight f3 instead. And in fact, knight f3 is something like 22 times more common than knight c3. And this is how you can basically throw people off their game from the outset. So in response, black has a number of different things they can do, but the two main ideas that black has are knight f6 and knight c6. Black does have other ideas as well, and we'll be going over those in subsequent videos. Bishop c5, notably being a good example of a try that black has. And so yeah, we're going to go over these. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. And again, I'm going to give you my recommendations on each. In the video today, we're going to start out with knight f6, which is black's most common reply to knight c3 by whites. And what I would recommend here is to go in for the so-called Vienna gambit, because it creates interesting positions, which oftentimes can lead to very strong positions that black has difficulty, especially at the club level, defending. And yeah, they're just generally positions that I think black at the club level is going to feel uncomfortable in. So this is the first point that I want to emphasize for how the research that I'm using and the research that I've done and how I'm going to be presenting all this material is different from what you might generally see. So what you might generally see is people will tell you black should play d5 here. And yeah, this is probably the strongest move. But as it turns out, at the club level, again, 18 to 2200 on Lichess, which is basically strong club level strength, the most common move is e takes f4. And I would say that this is an inaccuracy already. I'll show you some examples of sort of what white can do. But yeah, just a great example. Hey, you know, this is the most common thing that black is going to throw against you, and you already know by move 3 that black has made an inaccuracy. So what we want to do here is we want to just start pushing black. Push him with e5. The most common reply here black is going to have is knight g8, because all the other knight moves are no good for black. And here we want to go knight f3. So we're down a pawn, but look at all this development that we're getting. Black most commonly plays d6, and here we want to play d4. Black will most likely play d takes e5, and then we want to play queen e2. And this is as far as I want to go in the line. We've gone 7 moves in here, and we've gotten to a position where white wins 65% of the time. That's excellent. If you can get into a position after 7 moves where you have 65% odds to win, you know, you're doing something right. So currently white is down 2 pawns, but their development is excellent. They're going to get back the e-pawn easily. They have 3 pieces attacking it right now. Black has no defenders. They're going to get the f-pawn back after that with bishop takes f4. They're going to castle quickly. They've got better development, and we can sort of see why white wins 65% of the time from this position. So if we go back to this Vienna Gambit position after playing f4, we can also look at another couple lines that are worth mentioning. So e takes f4. Again, we want to play e5, pushing on. And here, black or white also tries queen e7. And this move is about 66% as common as the main move knight g8. But this move is actually a mistake, as it turns out. So what we want to do here is we want to play queen e2. Because we're removing the pin and we're threatening to take the f6 knight. Black now has to play knight g8. We play d4, and then here's the most common move here is a mistake for black. They play d6. So if you get this far in this line, you can know that, hey, you're doing great, even if you memorize this much. Now, what I want to show you coming up here is going to be one of the few examples of actually going through a line that's pretty long. I'm not normally going to do that, but I want to do it in this specific case because it's a very forcing line, and it sort of shows how black's play of queen e7 followed by d6 turns out to be a mistake. It's a long line, but it's all pretty forcing. It may not come up in your games, but at least it's illustrative of ideas that you'll want to sort of have in the back of your head. So here, white wants to play knight d5. Black jumps in with queen h4 check. White plays g3. Black has f takes g3, and this gives white just enough time to take on d6 with check and start creating havoc for black. Black goes bishop e6, blocking. Now we go knight f3, attacking the queen, and hey, it may look like we have blundered here because look at what black can do. g2 check. So we take the queen that is putting us in check, but black takes on h1 and gets a new queen. Have we messed up? Actually, no. So knight takes c7 check. King d8. Now here we don't want to take the rook on a8. Instead, we want to take the bishop with check. This is the core idea. We want to keep rolling with checks here. And this is where I said, even though this is a long line, it's forcing. Yeah, the black doesn't really have much room to vary from this. F takes e6. Now bishop g5 check. Knight f6. And here is, not here, but coming up is, actually here is a key move in the sequence. So this is a quieter move than we've been seeing. Knight f3. The idea is we want to keep black's queen in jail, so to speak, on h1, so it can't get away. Black tries to get some development. Bishop takes d6. We castle. They try to go for some more development with knight c6. Now, we cash in bishop h3, queen takes d1, king takes d1, and white has a clear advantage. They should win every time in this position. Again, one of the few examples where I'm going to show you a long line, but that was a forcing line that sort of exemplified why black's move here of queen e7 followed by this move d6 are mistakes. Again, the core idea with the line is as long as you get into this position, if you learn at least up till here, you can have a pretty good sense that you're going to have an advantageous position. So let's go back to f4 is the third move by white, and just to make sure we have all of our bases covered. Yeah, I think that's basically all that I want to touch on with this line. Again, the most common e takes f4 that you're going to see at the club level, and I've given you some weapons against it. So in the next video, we're going to continue, and we're going to look at what to do when black plays d5. So I'll see you guys next time. Thanks a lot.